Hey, my name's Paul Higgins, and I am the Irish Connection. This podcast is about connecting with people from all walks of life and finding out their stories, so that they can connect with you all. Positive connections are contagious. Why don't you find out for yourself by listening along weekly? And you can also make more connections through the stories on our blog. Enjoy.
So what about, where do we go? So you've got back to home to Ireland across land. You're making tons of money, but you're staying humble, as you say. You're giving back. You're doing all these wonderful things. So what happened after where did
that brought me up to 2012. And that's when I started being able to take my mum on trips and stuff. And that's when I met my missus, who I've now been with like nearly 10 years. So what I'd been from 2006 when I graduated from uni to 2012, I've been traveling on $10 a day, broke as a joke.
Yeah.
But brilliant, like the romance of travel, like hitchhiking and riding on top of trains and sleeping in bus stations and all that. So that was like a 6-year period where I visited almost half the world, and it was cool. And then the second half, then from 2012 to 2017, when I finished my last country, the next 5 or 6 years was a different experience because I was making, I could take my missus with me. Of course, not when I'm in Somalia or Iraq or whatever, and I would go to those places on my own. But generally, I could start seeing my friends and family again because I could fly around. I had money to do that. And then that's when I took the every country thing really serious. Then I just was really aggressive. From 2012 to 2017, I was just like obsessive about, okay, after the Bangkok to Belfast thing, I was maybe on 80 countries, 90 countries or something, and I knew there's 197 countries. So over the next 5 years, I just was like 20 countries, 30 countries every year. I'm going to finish my goal. I've set this big goal. And of course, now I've got some money and a nice apartment in Thailand. It'd be very easy to sit by the side of my pool and collect my money, but that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to achieve something. I was just constantly on the road, 9 months a year, 10 months a year, and then eventually broke through, finished my countries. My last country was Norway, actually, and I finished in St. Patrick's Day, 2017. But the country before that, yeah, it was cool. But the country before that, my second last one was Yemen, and I ended up hitchhiking 4 days on this Indian cargo ship across the Somali waters to get to that one. So that was kind of my like emotional finish.
Wow.
Because it took me when you get to some of those difficult countries, it took me like 9 or 10 years to visit 194 or 195 countries. And I had like Saudi Arabia, Libya, Yemen, and then Norway, which I was saving for my celebration. So it took me a year to visit Libya, Saudi Arabia, and Yemen because they're like Yemen's at war. Saudi wasn't accepting tourists. I know now they're doing political whitewashing stuff with the boxing and all. Easy now. Back 3 or 4 years ago, possible.
No.
And Libya, it was just impossible to get visas because of the wars, and eventually like you end up meeting people who can smuggle you in and all that. And I finally cracked it.
All crazy stuff, That's what the Irish connections do, don't they? Like, you know what I mean? They find a way, smuggling themselves in. Awesome. I mean, so how did you overcome some of them sort of like those difficult times where you're like, how am I going to get into this country? I mean, I suppose you must have been banging your head against a wall, visas and going and paperwork and embassies. And I mean, at what point were you kind of like...
Yeah, Yemen, for example, was a nightmare. I actually wrote a blog post. I was just really disheartened one time. I had tried and failed to get into Yemen 6 times. And I wrote a blog post about how not to visit every country in the world, because I was on 195 countries. I had 3 left. And I kept trying and failing to get into Yemen. And then eventually I flew to Oman, which borders Yemen, and rented a car in Muscat and drove across the whole country to the Yemeni border, tried to bribe the border guard to let me across the border. And I physically crossed the border, which is what a lot of the people these days who are trying to visit every country qualify as visiting the country.
Literally stepping
a toe across.
Here's my toe in Yemen.
You're like 2 meters into the country, and my mum's like, "You've done it," and I was like, "I haven't done it." So that was the 6th attempt. So I flew back to Thailand, and then we ended up chartering our own jet, and then we were in the air actually about to land in Yemen, and then the Saudis ordered us to turn the flight around mid-air And I finally thought I'd done it actually at that point. And they turned us around, landed back down in Oman, forced landing. And I didn't leave Oman. I went to the port and I stayed there for weeks and weeks until someone would let me on a boat that was going to Yemen. And then I paid this guy, paid the Omani officials to let me out of the country illegally, paid the Yemeni officials to stamp me in because I had no visa or anything when I arrived. And then eventually I cracked it.
Oh, unbelievable.
Just perseverance.
Crazy experience. Crazy. Like, I mean, you know, I mean, what did you do when you get into Yemen? Like, what did you, how many,
honestly, I was just crying for hours, like tears of happiness, because I just felt like it was over. And anyone else who was trying to visit every country at the time, I know only a handful of people have done it, but a lot of people had got stuck with Yemen and they'd done that 1 foot over the border stuff. And I mean, surely deep down they knew it didn't count, and I certainly didn't count it. So for me, I was the only tourist in Yemen. I had been the only tourist in Yemen for 2, 3, 4 years since the war broke out. I was just very proud that I had
achieved it,
fought through all. Aye. And then, of course, I had no way home because there was no boats going
there's no
back.
Flights, there's no boats out. Then the realization that I'm stuck in Yemen.
Every morning I just had to go back down to the port and say to all the captains, is anyone going to Oman today? No.
Is anyone going to Ireland? Is anyone going to Ireland or Thailand or anything? I'll go anywhere. Just get me out.
That was cool.
Awesome. Yeah, it's amazing, like, to be able to say that you did it, like, and properly did it as well. Do you know what I mean? Not just this, like, dingle in a toe across an imaginary line where some barbed wire is and all. Yeah, you know. So I'm sure
since I did that Yemen trip, I met a load of cool people in Yemen. Now I've run a few tours to Yemen where I've taken a load of my blog followers. I took it's February. It's February 2021 now. So last January I took 20 people, and last February I took 20 people to meet all the people I had met when I was there. It was cool.
Awesome. So is it open now? Is it more open, or is that through your contacts that you're getting people in there, or is it kind of more like is it still a strange?
I wouldn't say it's open. It's possible if you're brave and you trust either me or someone else to book flights. Yeah, because you can't book flights online or anything. You have to give cash to this lady in Egypt. And I'd never met her before. And I had 45 people, and the tickets are really expensive. They're like $1,500, like 1,200 quid. And I had 45 people, which was like 60 grand cash. And I had to hand it to this chick in Egypt. I've never even met her before.
I love it. Here's a suitcase full of cash. So when do we fly?
There's a lot of trust.
Thanks. Yeah, we'll see you at the airport. What airport? I love it.
Sorry, actually.
Well, do you know what? Like, them's the times where you actually push the boundaries of, do you know what? Positivity, trust, and going, do you know what? This is going to happen. Like, you know what I mean? You know, it could have been a different story. Don't get me wrong. Like, you could have been sitting there going, I just lost 60 grand. Like, exactly. But you know, see, that's awesome. I think that when you put that out there and you kind of go for it, it always seems to work out. You know what I mean? Where there's a will, there's a way, they say, isn't it?
I've got the situation again. So, but those flights from Egypt don't exist anymore. You know, when you're trying to get into Yemen, it changes every few months with the war with the Saudis. It's a proxy war between Iran and Saudi, and the flights. I want to bring another group to Yemen, but the flights from Egypt don't work anymore. So now I've got to pay cash to this guy in Dubai who says that he can get me flights from Dubai. And I'm going through the whole bloody thing again. He wants me to go in November. So I guess I'll give it another crack.
Never another crack. Yeah, but then, like, you know, it's just one of them, isn't it? Like, you know, well, you know, is it going to work this time? Or is he here? Oh, this Irish guy just handed over 60 grand in cash. Don't worry. Get on him. He's awesome. So you're going to try and get that on. Awesome experience. But for anyone out there struggling with Yemen, get in touch with Johnny then, to try and get them countries done. So that's the 197 countries. So you did Yemen, absolutely. That emotional side, that release that you spoke about there, like, that must have been like, I mean, when you'd done that, did you kind of like, where do we go from here? What do I do now? Like,
yeah, because though that was my second last country, it was kind of like the last country, because Norway was just going to be a big party with everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like the emotional outpouring of like a decade or more, 11 years of strife and money, and like I would have, like, I know I made a lot of opportunities from doing that stuff in my blog. I lost a lot of opportunities too by not being able to commit to anything else for that decade. Missed weddings and funerals and cool opportunities to run marathons or climb mountains or whatever it was, see family, friends, holidays with people I love, and I couldn't do any of that because it was just I'm going to every country, going to every country. I was constantly busy. So I missed a lot of opportunities too. And when I finished then at my final country, 2017, it was only 3.5 years ago, that allowed me to then follow the stuff that I'd always wanted to do during those years that had evolved in my mind. And that's when, like, climbing the 7 summits and going to the North Pole and the South Pole and ultra marathons and all this kind of like crazy stuff. It's stuff that had been building up in me for years. And especially with my travels, I saw loads of other cool stuff and met cool people doing cool things. And I couldn't do any of it because I had to finish the countries. And then since 2017, I've been able to follow up those, and that's been really cool.
So 2007, when was your last country? Sorry, when was Norway? When was the big party again?
St. Patrick's Day 2017, so almost 4 years ago, actually.
So almost 4 years.
Yeah.
So since that, then you've then done, you touched a little bit on the ultra marathons and that you've done. Give us a little flavour of some of the stuff you've done there then. So you finished your last country and you're thinking, right, let's do some of this cool stuff. What was the first one you did then? Your first marathon or your ultra marathon or that? So
I finished my countries in March, and then I met a Russian guy who told me that he would help climb the highest mountain in Europe. He told me that the highest mountain in Europe was in Russia.
Right.
A lot of people think it's Mont Blanc in France, but it's not. It's a mountain called Mount Elbrus in Russia. Yeah. So I went and climbed Mount Elbrus with him, and I'd already climbed Kilimanjaro, which is kind of just like a fun hike, really. I know it's like one of the 7 summits, but it's easy.
Yeah.
So I'd already done one of the 7, and then I did Elbrus. So it was 2 of the 7 summits, and I was like, listen, I could maybe have a crack at this, at doing all 7.
Yeah.
And then I thought actually I'd love to go to the North Pole. And then I started looking into how much it costs to go to the North Pole. Yeah. And it's like 40 grand or something.
Yeah.
Well, and then you get back to it just being all these posh rich people doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
And then I find the cheapest way to do to get to the North Pole was an Irish guy actually who runs a company that runs marathons at the North Pole once a year. He takes a private Russian former military plane from the Arctic Circle, an island called Svalbard that belongs to Norway in the Arctic Circle, and you jump on this plane, you get dropped off at the North Pole, and then you run an actual marathon, like a 26-mile marathon at the North Pole. So I signed up and did that. So that was the first marathon I'd ever run. So I started training a lot for the North Pole Marathon. Because I was based in Asia, I was training in like 40-degree heat. And then actually we were doing one of our charity projects in India in March 2019, and it was plus 42 or something. We were building a school in Delhi. And I finished the school the next day, went to Delhi airport, flew to the Arctic Circle and connected to the North Pole at minus 40. Like 2 days later, it was minus 40. Anyway, that was crazy. So I did the marathon at North Pole.
One extreme to the other, like absolute. Couldn't get any farther from the extremes.
Yeah. And that's when you start meeting, when you're at the North Pole, you start meeting people. So I started meeting people who had done this thing called the Marathon des Sables, which I'd never heard of at the time. That's 6 marathons, 6 days in the Sahara.
Yeah.
So then I was like, I can't believe we're doing the North Marathon so hard. And everyone's like, you think the North Pole Marathon's hard? You should try to do the Marathon des Sables. And I was like, what's the Marathon des Sables? So then I signed up for that straight away. As soon as I heard what that was, I signed up for it.
I'm gonna have some of that.
And then I started getting into like doing crazy stuff. And so then I was just started doing and started trying to climb the summits and working on our charity stuff for years, and I've been getting through it. No, I was actually supposed to climb the highest mountain in North America, Denali, in a couple of months, but it's been cancelled for COVID. I was supposed to climb it last May, cancelled for COVID, and now this year cancelled again. So that's all getting pushed back.
And which mountain was it that you were climbing? Was it one of the 7 summits where you've had to turn back once, or was that what? Or you tried it and the weather was really bad or something, and you had kind of like you had a couple of goes at it? Which one was that?
Yeah, that was Aconcagua in Argentina.
Ah, yes, that's right. And that's a bit of a thorn in your side at the moment. That one, isn't it?
Well, now it's okay because I went back last year. A year ago, I went again and I did it. One of my best mates, and we both filled the year before, which is for 1 year, because you can only climb these mountains once a year. The season's got to be correct.
Yeah.
You know, because the winds and the temperature and everything. So you have to wait a whole year to try again. Brutal.
Yeah.
So then we signed up, and then last January 2020, so about a year ago, I got up that, but my mate went blind on the mountain, had to get helicoptered off, so he failed again. So tough.
Wow.
Yeah.
Your mates,
he's okay now.
Your mates don't have. Yeah, he's all right now. Yeah, how's your mate's toe as well? He ran the marathon. Your mates don't do too well with you, like, you know what I mean? Come with me, we'll do this, like, you know what I mean? One of them went blind, and one of them near lost a toe or grew an extra toe, like. Love it.
There's a price. I don't like doing these things on my own. I like doing them with friends. Like, if you're hanging around with me all the time, I'll like rope you into doing some bad stuff. It's cool.
It's good. You need that moral support, that connection, you know, when you're doing these things, you know, definitely like the likes of them.
And true friends should bring the best of it.
Oh, without a doubt.
True friends should bring the best out of it. Not just, it's fun taking the mick out of each other, but of course you should do that. But then ultimately, like when you're on your deathbed, you hope your mates have lifted you higher, don't you? So
without a doubt,
you might not, his eyesight might not be so good, or my mate's still might. They had some cool experiences.
To be able to go. Remember that time I was in the hospital and I grew an extra toe when we run that marathon, you know? So it's all part and parcel of it, like,
yeah.
You know, definitely stories for the grandkids. You know, and you've just got engaged as well, haven't you? Very recently, was it a year ago? Have you? So you popped the question, didn't you?
Yeah, we got legally married, but we didn't do the wedding ceremony until we hoped to do. Spit it out, Johnny. We got engaged, in Bora Bora, and then I was going to get married at the end of the last year, and then that got postponed because of COVID, obviously, because no one could come to Thailand.
Yeah.
So Ja and I legally got married, but we postponed the ceremony to this year, hoping everyone will be able to come, and it's looking again like, don't know what's going to happen. Can people come or not? So
it's touch and go for everything still.
But everyone's got the same story. Yeah, that's how it is at the moment.
It's just the way it is, isn't it? But you got engaged and you started building a new house in Thailand. How was that experience?
Yeah.
On top of training to row across the Atlantic, like, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah, it was tough. Like the legalities of transferring like big chunks of money across the world and trusting lawyers and stuff in Thailand and getting your legal right to own land or as near as you can legally have a right to own land in Thailand. It's been really tough. So all the lawyer stuff, you're just hemorrhaging money. And then finally we got the land, and then I bought the land, and we just started building about 2 weeks ago now. But I've started a project that I literally don't even have enough money in the bank to finish. So it takes about a year to build, and I need to make some money this year to be able to finish it.
So COVID better do one sharpish, like, 2021, I need money. Back on the grind.
Yeah.
Awesome. It'll come. Yeah, it'll come to you. Don't worry.
Yeah.
There's an abundance. There's an abundance of cash out there. Yeah. Abundance.
I'm on my last 10%. I'm 90% funded. Yeah.
It'll come. So, I mean, what's the dream then for now after this? Like, I mean, married, new big house getting built. Hopefully you can find the cash to finish it. And then you kids on the horizon?
Yeah. Okay. I've got kids. I've got like, I just got engaged and then legally married with the missus, and then I literally disappeared for 5 months to do this row.
And so I left the most supportive woman ever in the world, lad. She is pretty supportive of you.
Well, I mean, we fight about it. It's not like she's happy about it, but she accepts that it's what I'm going to do. So I've got a lot of makeup.
I'm going, and that's
so I'll spend most of the year. Spend most of the year in Thailand after this. But I'm going in November. I'm taking my mum and a load of oldies to the Serengeti to run the Serengeti half marathon to raise money for Parkinson's. So we're doing that in November.
Awesome.
I'm bringing 25 people to do that.
Awesome.
That's the only other trip I'll probably do that trip this year, unless I do that Yemen one. Then I'll just do the Serengeti Marathon in November, and that'll hopefully be it. I'll spend the year in Thailand.
And interesting, your mum. I mean, what an amazing woman! What an amazing woman! Like, go on to your mum. Like, so you're raising money for Parkinson's. Tell us a little bit about your mum. I know you touched on her earlier about sort of giving you the tools maybe early in your life that you didn't even realize she was giving you, and to be able to go on and do these amazing things and kind of giving you that emotional resilience that, you know, she's given you. But I mean, what else has she started doing recently? Tell us.
Well, she made some bad choices earlier on in her life, choosing like my father, he was a bad guy, blah, blah, blah. So she had it tough for a while. And once we left or escaped that situation, she was in like the grips of depression for a long time, was really obese, like not just overweight, was obese for a while and for a decade nearly actually. And then she snapped out of it when I was kind of 14, 15. But all throughout that, she was very dedicated to my sister and me. It's tough to be the only mom and then also do the dad job, especially for the son. So anyway, she filled us with belief that we could do stuff. So that was cool. And then off we went to uni, my sister and I, and my sister's doing well now, living in England. And then my mum was left with the empty house and all in Ireland. And then during those first few years when I was broke, before my blog took off, she would come and visit me for a couple of weeks a year.
Yeah.
And then as I started making more money, those once a year would become 2 or 3 times a year. So she started to get to travel loads. But then in 2012, that year that my blog took off and I started making all that crazy money, she was diagnosed with Parkinson's.
Wow.
And then, of course, the depression struck again for a while, but she was quite quick to get out of that. Actually, 3 to 6 months, she was like, why me, blah, 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 completely normal, because it's a chronic condition. It's not going away. It's only going to get worse.
Yeah.
So once she dealt with the kind of the grieving for the future that you might have had, rather than do that, then she was like, right, I'm going to do everything I can do while I can do it. So she was just started backpacking around the world for the last 7 years. So like now she's been to like 65 countries or whatever, often with me, but often on her own too. And then for her 70th birthday last year, we climbed Mount Fuji with a load of oldies as well. So, and her Parkinson's, like you can really see she's got Parkinson's, got the shake and everything, but she dragged herself up Mount Fuji for a couple of days. We got to the summit and then she collapsed on the way down. We got evacuated and ended up in a hospital in Japan.
Again, you see, anyone travels with Johnny, if you want to get in a hospital or get hurt, book something with Johnny, like, you know what I mean? Even his mum, he does his mum in.
He's okay now. He's okay now. So then
she's all right.
I gave her her 71st birthday. Her 71st birthday, I gave her off. And her 72nd birthday, now we're doing the Serengeti half marathon. So, yeah.
So, yeah. And how has she dealt with the Parkinson's side of things? Is it a progressive? Is it get progressively worse? Or
yeah, progressive, and it is getting worse. But she's diagnosed in 2011 or 2012. She's probably had it 2009, 2010. So it's been 12, 13 years now. And lots of people have got it a lot worse. Lots of people can be in wheelchairs and stuff after that time. But my mum she gave up meat, went on an alkaline diet to keep all your gut health. And so she exercises every day for between 30 and 60 minutes. And that's another reason why I do these challenges for her, to keep her focused on the exercise. Yeah. And she's like a social person. So that's, of course, it's still going to regress. It's science. You know, the dopamine cells in your brain are dying. So, I mean, it's going to get worse, but you can try to slow the regression. And it's upsetting, of course. Like, I wish she didn't have it, but I'm very proud of the way she's dealt with it.
Oh, amazing. She's done a lot in the last 10 years, as you said. You know, it's kind of funny, isn't it? It's kind of apt. Even when she's, as you said, that initial grief or grieving that shock that she's got this. But actually, what she's done in the 10 years after, it's kind of like, it's flipped her life, like, hasn't it? It's actually made her probably do more than she ever done, thinking, actually, you know, there's more to it.
And like, we're very open about talking about it, my mum and I. Like, had she not been diagnosed, just visit me once a year or whatever, and then, what, she's 72 now, next month she's 72, and then she gets hit by a bus at 72, and then you see those two realities. The better of those two realities is her having Parkinson's and making the most of her life. So that's how things go, isn't it?
It's really crazy, isn't it? Really crazy when you look at it like that. It is. It's awesome. And like you say, to be able to raise awareness, raise money for charities, take loads of other people as well, and meet cool people, meet cool friends, have cool adventures. I think it's very important. You know what I mean? It's not just for young, as you said. Traveling isn't just for, you know, the gap year student, or whatever, or a travel blogger like yourself. You know, It can be for anyone, can't it? And anywhere. I think it's just what you take from each sort of experience, like, and throw yourself into it 100%. You know, you can make amazing memories, like. So that's your mum's amazing, and your mum's got a blog as well. Shout out for your mum's blog. What's your mum's blog as well?
Yeah, she doesn't actually write much on her actual blog. It's her Facebook page or her Instagram that she's more obsessed with. It's called Geriatric Traveller, 2 L's, like the UK version of spelling of traveller. Geriatric Traveller with 2 L's.
Awesome. So everyone get on that. It's very, very good. Good Instagram for all you elderly travellers, you weary travellers, shall we say, who don't want to be doing half marathons across the Serengeti, getting chased by friggin' tigers and lions and whatever else. Yeah, it'll be the fastest marathon ever, you guys going across there. So
exactly.
Hopefully no one gets hurt on this one now. This is going to be quite serious, this one, if someone gets hurt on that one, you know, please. So just quick one, when you're doing all this mad stuff, you're meeting all these cool people. You mentioned it before, like, you know, these people you kind of looked up to and you're looking to kind of emulate, and, you know, they're quite cool. His story's quite cool and all. But who's the real inspirations that give you inspiration then when you're doing these things, or drive you on to keep going in your dark times, say, or your hard times?
I'm massively from the school of tough love. I've got no time for this snowflake, try your best, at least you tried. I got no time for that.
Everyone gets a medal.
That's the life of mediocrity. I guess not everyone's cut out for it. I don't buy into any of that stuff, right? So historically, I haven't looked up to anyone, because there's very few working class people doing cool stuff. And I hope I can be that person for people. And then a couple of years ago, after a Joe Rogan podcast, I heard about David Goggins, and I am just obsessed with him now. Obsessed with him.
He's definitely from the school of tough love. Definitely from the school of tough love, David Goggins.
I love it.
But you know what? He's pretty awesome as well. Like, he might tough love, but I tell you what, it shows you a lot of good love when you dig deep and go through with him. Like I know, I seen that one where the guy was tried to run a marathon and he failed. Something about his legs cramped up and everything. And he was in bits or something. And then David Goggins messaged him, was like, "We're doing it tomorrow morning again. Get ready, I'm coming." And he did the whole thing with him or something. Like, awesome. I mean, that's putting your money where your mouth is right there.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And when you get to these dark places, I just did a 200-kilometer ultramarathon a couple of months ago, and it's hard. Like, people think that it's just about the pain, and if your feet are bleeding, your ass is bleeding, the inside of your legs are bleeding, and you just got to keep going. And people think that it's just the physical pain, and it's not the physical pain. It's, you've got this constant voice in your head saying, "Why are you doing this? Quit. Your body is aching. You need to recharge. You're hallucinating. Like, stop. Just stop. There's literally no reason to do this. You've got money in the bank. Go and be happy." And it's like the David Goggins mentality of, like, you don't know yourself until you truly push yourself. And if you quit now, what else are you going to quit? And I love that mentality of, like, shut your mouth. No one cares. Keep going.
Yeah. Stop whining. Stop whining. Yeah, there's people worse off. Yeah. Crack on. You got yourself in there, get yourself out of it. You're here now, might as well do it. So what's the plans? Obviously 2021, 2020's been hijacked. We all know, bit crap, but you're going to row the Atlantic, finishing off in Antigua with the gang. You going to have a bit of time in Antigua before you fly straight back, or?
Yeah, we have to sort out all the boat. Apparently it takes about a week to unpack and sort out the logistics of sending the boat back. So I'll have a week there, celebration, I hope. Then I'll go back to see my family in the UK another week probably. And then I'll go to quarantine in Thailand. You got to stay in state quarantine, 16 days locked up to get back into Thailand. So I'll do that. And then I don't know what I might try to run a sub 3 hour marathon. I have this in my mind. I'm going to try to run a really fast marathon time. I might just spend my time in Thailand doing that. And then we'll do the Serengeti half marathon in Tanzania. And then I might bring a few of my readers to Yemen. And then January, we're building a school in the Philippines, and that's my next 12 months.
So you're building a school in the Philippines. That's with the charity. So can people get involved in that? Is that open, or when's that opening, Johnny, for people to jump on?
No, it's a big company in Canada hired us to manage their trip for them. They don't want, normally every year, like some successful companies send all their staff on like work retreats on cruise or whatever, and some of them now in the modern world want to do something cooler than that. So we run trips with private companies where instead of just getting drunk on a cruise, they can like build a school and then travel around the country. So we just took we've done a few private trips. We built 6 houses for an Australian company for a homeless community in Cambodia, and then traveled around Cambodia. We built a kindergarten with Burmese refugees in the north of Thailand, traveled around the north of Thailand. We did another one in Tanzania, and now we got this one in the Philippines. So
that's a private company is doing that.
No tickets available, I'm afraid.
No tickets available on this one. When are you thinking of the next kind of adventure one you're going to do? Is that going to be this year or next year?
Just COVID. So we have a sold out trip in June, I think it is, in Uganda. We're building an orphanage. But I just don't know if it's going to happen or not. We're waiting to pull the trigger, or we're going to cancel it or keep it. It was sold out from last year. It's sold out from this year. People waiting to go, because you can go and see the mountain gorillas while you're there, and go and see the world's largest lava lake across the border in the Congo. So it's a cool trip, but it's just so hard to plan. That's why I haven't done the Serengeti marathon. Towards the end of the year, most people will be vaccinated, so it'll be all right. I don't feel confident in anything until Q4.
Yeah, it's looking that way here too. Obviously, we're still, kids aren't even back. Things are still all up in the air. But I mean, it's been a crazy time for everyone. But we've got to just keep kind of pushing on. So, good plans for 2021 for a little bit anyway. Let's see, COVID depending what else you can get in there. But quick final question we've been asking everyone. And lots of people, where or what is your happy place?
Well, it doesn't exist yet, mate. Hopefully it'll be next year. My house will be finished about a year from now. I would love to have like the dream house I've always had, a pregnant missus, a massive adventure on the horizon I'm training hard for, whether it's Everest or a South Pole mission or something, and I'm killing myself every day for 6 months leading up to it. And our non-profit has got 10 booked out trips, and we're doing charity projects, and I've just got to focus on stuff like that. That's where I need to be. So that maybe this time next year.
That's your happy place. But I tell you what, Johnny, thank you so much for joining us. It's been absolutely awesome speaking to you today, buddy. What a story. What a adventure.
I'm not sure about the internet here, so sorry about the signal.
Don't be worrying, buddy. Do you know what? We'd love to, look, let's see, can we do it again? Maybe in better times, more stable internet, when you're kind of finished the row and you've, come out of hospital after 3rd-degree burns all over you from the sun and you've got back to Thailand and the house build is on the way, so you're not kicking builders' asses to get stuff done on site. Maybe we can hook back up again and you can fill us in on the row and the plans that you've got for the future with a little bit maybe more stable internet connection. But we will wrap it up there, buddy, and I will say thank you and good luck with the row, and we will speak again soon. Johnny, thanks. Speak to you in a bit.
Cheers.